Welcome to Trust AI Partners, where we dive into the cutting edge of tech innovation. Join us as we explore how AI automation is transforming the industry. If you're ready to discover the future of AI innovation and how your company can get ahead, stay tuned and connect with us for more information. I'm your host, Jim Hoover, and joining us today is Dr. Lynn Gauthier. She's a clinician, scientist, and entrepreneur on a mission to dramatically improve the quality of rehabilitation care. Her team, in partnership with the disability community, built RxGames, a video game-based home exercise program for remote therapeutic monitoring. These body movement controlled games run on client's phone or computer, auto-adjust to ability, and in multi-site randomized control trial have shown substantial improvements in quality of movement during daily activities and exercise sufficiency. You can learn more at RxGames. Lynn, we're excited to have you. For listeners who may not or may be new to your work, could you introduce yourself and share the problem RxGames set out to solve, where you're focused at today?
Sure. Lynn Gauthier. I'm the chief scientist at RxGames. This started all in a research lab. So we sought to figure out a way to get effective therapies to the masses. And the big challenge that we had is that people had very limited amount of insurance reimbursement for their rehab. And if you're struggling with a chronic condition, it's just not enough to manage the condition. Plus, a lot of people had difficulty even accessing the benefit that they did have. So getting to the clinic, taking time from work, getting rides from other people. It was just a real challenge for a lot of people. So we wanted to give them a way to be able to exercise at home to manage their chronic condition. So that it's not to take the therapist out of the loop, but it's to give them something where they can kind of drive their own bus in their rehab and really take ownership of the day-to-day managing their condition between consultations with the clinician at the clinic.
And as a side note, what's a recent win that you're proud of, personally or professionally?
Well, getting it onto mobile devices was a big deal for us because initially the technology just wasn't there to do that. And one of the big challenges that we had was actually getting this out, because if you're trying to do it on a computer, or using video game equipment like the Xbox Connect, where we started, it was just really challenging to have everybody have the right equipment to do it at home. And then you had that equipment cost. So now that we've been able to get it onto mobile devices, it's been huge to make it easier for people to actually adopt because they already have those devices.
And so I'm curious, among health systems, maybe you're dealing with outpatient clinics, home health agencies, who is the primary customer that you're focused on?
So that's actually evolving over time. We initially focused on clinics and doing more of a B2B type of model. So working directly with the clinic, and then the clinic would then distribute this to their patients as part of their therapy, as their home exercise program. We had several challenges just with the sales cycle, mainly for that, just the pragmatics of how long it takes to get things approved to purchase within the clinic, EMR integration. There were a number of challenges associated with that. So we're in the process of more shifting our model to direct to consumer access, meaning that people can download it from the App Store. They don't necessarily have to have a prescription from a therapist to use it. And it also expands into the exercise world as well. So if trainers want to use this with their clients, or if people just want to use it to stay fit and don't necessarily have a therapist that's guiding their rehab or a trainer that's guiding their exercise program, they can use it and make their own. So we're in the process of pushing a direct-to-consumer app out, and that should be available shortly.
And where are you marketing that?
So several different avenues. One is connecting with clinicians that we've already been working with to help. They've already expressed enthusiasm about the solution that we have and just some of the challenges with getting it adopted into their clinic setting. Now they can just recommend that patients can go and access it on their own. So working directly with those folks so that they can make their patients aware of it, working with some fitness influencers to get the word out about the options to use games to motivate yourself for just exercising. That's a huge pain point for people. They tend to not like exercise. Most people do it because they want to look better or they want to be healthy, but they don't really enjoy the process. So I think the nice thing that we offer is that it's gamified. So it's like playing the Wii, only you can do it on your cell phone. And you're getting exercises that are built by trainers and built by PTs. So it's not just movement, it's actually movement that can improve performance or body function. And it's fun. So into the fitness space is something that we're expanding. And then we're also exploring potential opportunities within school systems as well.
Okay, fantastic. And in terms of being able to demonstrate the product or spark up the interest in terms of digital media outreach, what channels are you focused on? Is it paid advertisement? Is it social media platforms? Is it outbound campaigns?
More social media and through influencers. We found that, directly working with people is if someone's recommending this, if people see it, if they try it, then they're a lot more enthusiastic about it. And you can reach people that wouldn't necessarily think to use this kind of thing. So for example, some of the folks that have really enjoyed gamified exercise have been older folks, 60 to 80 years old, and they wouldn't necessarily have thought, hey, I'm going to get an exercise app, but they try it out and then they see the value in it. And, oh, this is much easier to use than I thought. So they've been some of the most enthusiastic users, but they never would have necessarily sought that out on their own. So I think getting their exposure through trainers, through PTs, as well as word of mouth through influencers is the most effective strategy.
And so when you're seeking out those influencers, it sounds like they're really critical in this process to get the demo out there. What would qualify the influencer that would fit the person that you're looking for to broadcast the message?
I think just some people with a lot of followers in this fitness space is really the critical aspect. I think where we really fit in very nicely is because we have that PT focus and physical therapy design behind our product. People who are managing chronic conditions really see the value in what we have to offer. So people in the influencer space where they have a lot of followers that would be managing chronic conditions is one. And, we also have somewhat of a performance emphasis as well. We have a lot of games for balance, different games for injury prevention, for managing conditions that athletes experience, like patellofemoral pain. So folks that have people who are wanting more performance and extra things that they can do to either minimize their risk of injuries or to enhance their performance outside of their training sessions or their practice sessions. Those are the other kind of group of folks that are interested in what we have to offer.
I'm curious, is there a story that you tell when you're able to demo the product or be it in any sort of ad placement channels that demonstrates social proof, testimonials, results, anything of that nature that would be worth sharing?
It depends on who the audience is. And so if you're working with a therapist and getting a therapist on board to tell people about this, they're really interested in, does it work clinically? What is the clinical evidence? And our multi-site trial is hugely influential for that. We can show that we get the same benefit from people doing it at home independently with just kind of minimal consultation with a therapist as when they go into the clinic. So it's really a treatment multiplier. And so that's very influential. I think also having patients kind of give those testimonials. Therapists obviously want to hear from the patients that they're serving.
Hmm.
So they're more likely to recommend things if the patients are saying, hey, like I use this, I really enjoy it. And so the clinical efficacy, the fun factor, the enjoyment, um, for for athletes, the message is more geared towards, do you want to improve your performance? Do you want to minimize the risk that you have injuries, that you're going to have longevity in your sport? So the types of things they're interested in is a little bit different. Patients are
Hmm.
more interested in daily function, ability to continue the rehab when they don't have a therapist there, ability to maintain their function when they have a chronic condition. So it really depends on who you're talking to, which things you emphasize. Of course, our platform does all of that,
Hmm.
but people are going to use it differently. Athletes are going to use it much more intensively. They're going to pick different games, much more physically demanding, challenging games usually. People who have disabilities or using it for rehab, they're going to pick games that are more at their ability level. And oftentimes they're using it just to stay fit and just to stay functional.
Yes, so I imagine with a variety of different sort of profiles who could benefit from this and who you're talking to, you would have very different messaging and framework around those different use cases.
Right.
That makes sense. Okay. And talk to me about the competitive landscape. Are there other products out there that are similar to this, or are you in a lane all by yourself?
Yeah, we're pretty much the only one that does this appified with games and the PT component. So we're that, if you have a Venn diagram, we've got
Hmm.
PT, we've got fun games, and we have exercise all in one.
Hmm.
Um, there are other apps that will give PT exercises, but they're not gamified. And then there are of course things like the Wii where you can buy it and it's just games and they get you moving, but there's not that physical therapy or training component. The movements that you're doing aren't necessarily purpose built for certain applications.
Okay.
And of course, you need the extra hardware. You got to buy a Wii system. With ours, it runs on cell phones, so the person can use it without having to purchase other equipment.
And since this is software based, it's available anywhere, right? There's no
Yeah, download
limitation.
on the App Store. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. And so, looking back at the past 6 to 12 months, what's been the biggest bottleneck or pain point for your focus in being able to uh, get through those challenges and move the business forward?
I think the biggest challenge was we were originally focused on mainly clinic sales,
Hmm.
and the sales cycle is extremely long. Like we're talking 2 to 3 years. And that's just not sustainable as a primary business strategy. And it's not just us, everybody who's selling into the clinical space is experiencing that. Um, so that's one of the reasons why we shifted to the direct consumer so that we can empower people to get it themselves when the clinic is not, so quick to adopt some of the new things. So that's been the biggest challenge as far as clinics and their ability to adopt new things. They typically have to go through a set of decision makers. They want to do a trial, of course, that makes sense. But then you have to go to like several different levels of administrative decision making, and things can stall out. There's also concerns about the EMR and vetting for the privacy and things like that. So sometimes it can be a very long process with a lot of red tape when a clinic is trying to introduce any sort of new technology. So
Hmm.
that's a real big challenge is, of course our things meets those compliance, but everybody has to do their own assessment and it can be very time consuming.
Sure, no doubt. And so as you shift your focus more direct to consumer, what's been the biggest challenge there?
We're pretty new in that space, so I think it's just it's going to be just getting the word out, and facilitating the adoption. Word of mouth tends to be the way that most people will have confidence in the product. So word of mouth. We haven't launched our direct to consumer app yet, so we don't really know exactly all the challenges. We're going to be really focused, obviously, on usability and the quality of the app to make sure people are having a good experience, they're reviewing it positively, so we can have that social proof. And then it's just about traction with getting as many eyes on our offering as we can.
Do you have a date for when that will be available, or is that
We're
TBD?
aiming for this month.
This month. Okay. All right. That's exciting. Are you able to speak to or share publicly anything to give the audience a size of a sense of the size and scale of the business of the company, whatever you're comfortable with in terms of staffing or downloaded apps, downloaded programs, ARR, MRR, whatever you're comfortable.
Yeah, right now we're a small startup, and so
Mhm.
we're looking to obviously scale and grow this. I think that offering that we have has a lot of different uses, and it can get kind of large traction in the market, especially since we can fit in the fitness space as well as the rehab space and aging, chronic condition management. So there's a lot of potential applications. So I think there's a lot of potential for growth, and it's a
Mhm.
large market. Um, some of the challenges is there are a lot of other fitness apps, so none that really offer games like we do. So we do differentiate ourselves, but there are a lot of offerings in the fitness space. So, you know, getting signal through the noise, with so many different offerings may be a challenge.
Okay. And is the price point or range of price points something that you want to share publicly, or is that saved for a different part of the process?
So we're aiming to make it within the range of less than what you would pay for a gym membership. Um, so it would be a monthly subscription or an annual subscription. That would be, compared to going to a physical therapist, is a drop in the bucket. So something like $30 a month, you get all your PT exercises, you can manage them yourself, and that's less than what most copays are for one visit. Um, if you're talking about gym memberships, usually around $100 a month. So this would be a fraction of what that is, at probably around $30 a month. If they want an annual subscription, it would be cheaper.
Yeah, just you reminded me. I've suffered with just nighttime back pain, waking up with back pain for quite a while, and I haven't really been able to resolve it through a lot of various methods. And I went to speak to a physical therapist and explored that option, and also a chiropractor who specializes in this sort of thing. And his offer was 6 months at, I believe it was $8,000, with a preset number of treatments. And it was a different sort of model than I had seen any chiropractors offer in the past. I'm used to sort of, you go in, you get a treatment, a service, you pay for it, and you didn't have to sign up for a 6-month contract. So it's interesting to see how the whole space has evolving and shifting. And I'm sure the clinicians, the doctors, the chiropractors, the PTs are all evolving themselves with the medical industry, and how things are paid for, reimbursed, etc.
Yeah, I think that it's going more into a self-pay because our healthcare system is facing collapse. Honestly, we're looking at how much the premiums cost. A lot of businesses are looking towards self-funded kinds of plans. Direct primary care is
Hmm.
getting more traction because people want to have quicker access to the things that they need. They don't want to wait for things. They want to have a focus on them and the value. They don't want to just be, one of 300 patients that a doctor is managing. They want to feel like the person knows them better. So I think people are starting to pay for more of what they want because their copays are so high anyway. So they might as well just get better care.
Does health insurance affect your business in any way?
So for the B2B sales, so selling into a clinic, there are reimbursement codes that the therapist can use to actually make money off of offering a home exercise program like this. So they can use remote therapy monitoring codes. And so essentially they're giving someone the home exercise program and they're monitoring them remotely to see their engagement with this, to look at how much they're benefiting from the different exercises. The challenge with that is that a lot of therapists, these codes are very new, so a lot of therapists aren't really familiar with them. And some of the insurance companies aren't as used to, they're really concerned that, am I going to get reimbursed for these codes? Or things going to get kicked back? Since I haven't used them as much, I haven't really figured out the billing with them yet. So it's more of those implementation challenges for trying something new, but it is insurance reimbursable. And clinics can actually make money off of it. For individuals, it more falls within how you access fitness. So, if their healthcare allowed for exercise, so much money in spending for exercise, they could maybe get reimbursed for the app that way. But really, for most people, they just pay for their gym memberships. They pay for their trainer sessions. So this would be more along the lines of that.
Do you provide is there any sort of free trial basis with the program?
Yeah, when we release the direct to consumer version, we will offer like a 3-day free trial so that people can make sure that their device works with software. Sometimes if they'll have an older phone, they may not know, hey, is it going to run really well on my device? So that will allow them, before they have to spend anything, to see if it's working for them, to see if the exercises are right for them. And then if they're finding success with it, then they can continue with the subscription.
And is there a preset duration for the program within the game, or is that undefined?
People are going to be able to control their exercise program entirely. So they can set how long they want to exercise at a time. They can set the number of repetitions of each game. So if you have someone who's had a stroke or has MS and they fatigue really quickly, then they may only want to do 5 or 10 minutes at a time. So they can set a program that does a few different games to get their basics that they need, get their heart rate up a little bit, but not overtax their bodies. Whereas you've got someone else who's working on endurance and they may want to go an hour or more at a time. You can do that too. And they can put whatever balance of exercises that they want. If they want more squats, they do the squat game more times. If they want more balance work, then they can set how long they want each of those games to play and then how many times they want it to play.
Very tailored, it sounds like, to the individual, very customizable. That's great.
Right. And honestly, the biggest challenge will be, people figuring out how to program what they want. Sometimes it might be, the number of options may be overwhelming to some users. So that's one of the challenges that we have from a design standpoint is, how do we take away some of that, oh, there's just too much, and how do I narrow this down to the few things that I'm going to want to do?
Do you anticipate when you go to market for direct to consumer that the most common download customer demographic is going to be that person in later stages of their life that might be less tech savvy?
So we've designed it for that user, in that everything is very easy to use. It's like a one click, you click on your game, you play it. You can make your playlist and then it saves for the next time that you open it. So you don't have to do that each time. So it just saves the last thing they did and they can run their program again. So that, if they're needing help with the setup, they can have a family member help them make that playlist and they just got to hit go. There's not going to be logins and things like that that they have to manage. So it'll be really easy to use. As far as the primary user, I think the age range is anywhere from kids, middle childhood, 6 and up, all the way to, older folks. So really, we don't really know yet because we haven't launched the direct to consumer what the primary demographic is going to be.
Mm-hmm.
But it certainly fits for all that range.
Okay. And so what are the most important core metrics that you're paying attention to on a weekly, monthly, annual basis?
So the core metrics for when we launch our direct to consumer will obviously be the subscription renewals.
Mm-hmm.
So we want to make sure people are engaging with the app, that they're using with it, they're continuing to find value, and they're continuing their subscriptions. We've already talked to a lot of users to gauge their enjoyment of the app, and they helped us co-design some of the different games. So that was something that we initially focused on because we wanted a quality product. We wanted the exercises to work. So we engaged with physical therapists to make sure we had the right exercises. Right now we're engaging with trainers as well to add more exercises for the fitness space to the direct to consumer app. And then we engaged with a number of consumers to try it out to make sure that they could figure out how to play it, that they could enjoy it, that it was getting their heart rate up, so it was doing what it was supposed to be doing.
And so jumping back to the the market penetration, the outreach, the education, aside from the social media influencers, aside from the public media channels like this, have you considered or tried any other sort of digital outreach that might be effective for direct to consumer?
So since we don't have our direct to consumer app yet, we haven't done a ton of outreach. So I think it's a little premature for trying all those channels. So we're starting with the ones that other folks have had the most success with, and then we'll build from there. In the therapy space, direct mail was not effective at all.
Mm-hmm.
Buying lists of clinics, that's not an effective strategy. They really want to know you and hear from you directly. So LinkedIn, attending conferences, having those face-to-face interactions was really critical. Kind of the cold outreach, not so effective.
I see. Cold outreach, regardless whether it's LinkedIn or email or list targeted, so not effective in the in your space. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Got it.
Clinicians are they're very relationship driven. That's
Mm-hmm.
they work with people all day, so they want to see the face of the person that they're interacting with. They want to hear it from you. So just a flyer that says this information, they're not going to be as convinced by that as if they have a conversation with somebody.
Mm-hmm. I see.
They're hands on, right? I mean, this is the fitness space, this is the rehab space, everything hands on. They got to try it out.
I see. And so in terms of growth and timelines, what specific outcomes are you targeting in the next 6 to 12 months?
I think it's going to evolve rapidly. So I think we're a little early to answer that, but really we're just focused on getting this out there and driving some adoption, and very high customer satisfaction with our initial adopters.
I see. Okay. Yeah, focused on the launch for now. Makes sense. Do you anticipate needing to bring on additional staff, or is that not a factor at this point?
At this point, no, but as we scale, then yes. We can certainly expand the number of different games. We can add exercises. We can add features like to the sharing, the reporting, the different metrics that people get. So there's certainly some continued development that we could do, but we do have a pretty comprehensive product right now. So we don't plan that development until we grow. Right now we have 50 different games. We're probably going to add 10 more games before we launch, just to increase the number of exercises for the fitness space. So we'll have a lot to choose from already. And, we want to see which games are gaining the most traction, what kinds of feedback we're getting, and then we'll drive further growth and development based on the feedback that we get.
What was the minimum age range that this would be appropriate for?
I would say maybe around 6.
6.
The challenge with younger kids is it can recognize anybody's body. I've set babies in front of it, and it tracks the baby's movement. But the challenge is the baby doesn't know what they're doing, right? And for kids, sometimes they have trouble staying in view of the camera. That's the biggest challenge with the kids. They get really excited. They try to get really close to it. And if they're too close, all it's going to see is their nose, you can't track their body's movements. So it's just once they have that awareness of, hey, I got to see my whole body in the little square that shows what I'm doing. So there's like a little feedback panel, I guess, that shows what it's tracking, and you got to be able to see yourself in that window. And once the kids know how to stay where it can see them in range of the camera, then they can engage with it just fine.
I wonder if one day you might explore this being compatible with any of the new VR systems that have becoming gradually more popular over recent years.
I got that question. I think we've thought about it, and certainly our games could be ported over to VR, but really it adds another barrier in terms of adoption, because most people don't have a VR system, and then they're going to have different VR systems. So that would be the problem that we solved already by putting it to the cell phones. We would then create that problem for ourselves again. So I think until there's like a VR system that everybody has, it doesn't really make sense to go that direction. Plus, we have some safety concerns with VR. The way that it is now, you can't see the environment around you. You're exercising, you're going to trip on things. So people have actually gotten really hurt when they're trying to exercise with headsets and they're in a room where there's tripping hazards. Where sometimes they'll punch somebody else, they'll knock into a fish tank. There's you can see all sorts of things on YouTube to where there was VR fails at home. So, we want to avoid that as well.
Sure. Makes sense. Anything else that you want to highlight about the product or the business or message you want to put out to the audience?
I think that the thing that we really offer that hasn't really been appreciated yet in the fitness space is that we have to meet people where they're at in terms of their desire to exercise. Most people don't really like exercise. And so we're trying to, in the healthcare industry, in the training industry, we're always emphasizing, here's why you should exercise. It's so good for you. But then people are like, but I really hate it. So I think if we can appreciate that people motivate them more intrinsically so that exercise isn't such a chore, then people will be more likely to stick with their exercise program. And we need to take some of the barriers away. A lot of people can't easily get to a gym. A lot of people don't, even if they could get to a gym, they don't feel comfortable in a gym. They don't have these beach bodies. They don't know how to use all the equipment. It's uncomfortable for them. So what we offer is a way that we have explanations on how to play the games, how to do the exercises. You can do it in your own home where nobody's judging you, nobody's watching you. And you can do as much or as little of it as you want in a day. So it really empowers a different set of individuals that may not be comfortable in traditional fitness settings to actually start to exercise and maybe stick with an exercise program.
Right. Well, Dr. Lynn Gauthier, this has been fantastic. Thank you for sharing how RxGames is advancing patient engagement and measurable outcomes in rehab. For listeners interested in learning more, visit rxgames.com or the App Store. If you enjoyed this episode, follow Trust AI Partners for more conversations at the intersection of AI, healthcare, and growth. I'm Jim Hoover. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the next one. Cheers.
Have me.